All right guys, here it is, our brand new RB20/25 bolt-on turbocharger, our new sport turbine housing. So this one is specifically designed to be able to run G30 and G35 turbine wheels. This one here also has our front-facing compressor cover, and our turbochargers will come with a ported shroud like this. This is still a non-production version, so it might slightly vary the style, but this is to give you an idea of what the production unit will look like. When you bolt this turbo up to an RB25, it roughly sits in this orientation. Guys that have a RB25 will understand, or 20 will understand, that the manifold sits, the face is vertical, and then you've got the runners which go up from the head to there. Whilst we are discussing the new bolt-on turbocharger, I'll just go into a little bit of information regarding our new downpipe option that we have for RB20, RB25. So this is a new design. It's actually 4-inch on the outlet, and we have a provision for the O2 sensor to screw in there. And again, this is designed for the OEM bolt pattern of an RB25 turbocharger. So you can actually just buy this kit separately, and that comes with a downpipe and mid-pipe. So the first kit will be available for the R34 chassis, and then we will have revisions or versions available for R33 GTST and possibly R32 GDST, depending on demand. So it's a 4-inch. It has a flex on the downpipe, a 4-inch V-band, and then on the mid-pipe it goes from 4-inch V-band, 3.5 all the way to the original catalytic converter. So for states that need OEM or emissions compliant systems, it can retain the original equipment manufacturer's catalytic converter, so it should be legal. But again, that all depends on where you're at, and that's up to your local laws. So yeah, we'll go into more detail on the downpipe kit later, but yeah, let's get this thing installed.
A few moments later.
All right guys, so we've pulled off the turbocharger. This one is a aftermarket one. It's a kind of like a high flow unit, so it uses the original compressor cover. It's got a different turbine housing, and it's got a different rotating assembly. So this one here is actually designed more for an RB20, but we just grabbed it just so we didn't have a turbo blow up with our other developments. So, all right, here's a bit of a comparison versus our new unit. The first big difference is the outlet position in relation to the inlet. The original one is further away. Also, the inlet size is designed for a 90mm pipe feeding it, whereas the factory one, I believe, is 60mm. So we will be designing a silicon intake that can be retained with the OEM airbox and airflow meter, which will allow you to run your factory blow-off valve and the breather return. So that is in development. As for the original one, we will also provide a solution to go from the outlet to your original intercooler piping. If you are doing your own intercooler piping, that will be straightforward, but we'll show you that further on. Here's the inlet. So this is again an RB25/20 turbine housing replacement. And as we touched on earlier, this is our pre-production downpipe, but that's basically what they're going to look like. So it's 4-inch with a flex, 4-inch V-band, and a provision to allow your OEM airflow wideband or narrowband O2 sensor to be retained. And this design also allows you to run the original heat shield, which covers the back of the turbocharger. Some of the noticeable differences are, again, this is not a stock unit. This is an aftermarket one. But there's our wastegate flapper size. We don't disclose the AR of this. It's just known as a sport one. Just we don't want to give away our IP. So this one will be able to handle a G30 or a G35. Again, it's got the V-band on the back of it, whereas the original ones are bolt together. This also makes it easy for you to put it on the car, because it means that you can install the turbine housing separately and then just put the center cartridge in and do up the nut in another position. So it's quite easy to do instead of trying to get to all the bolts, which you can't really do with the bolt together bearing sections. So next step, let's get this bolted onto the car and see how we go. Alright guys, so we've finished up fabricating the required components to fit the new RB25/RB20 bolt-on turbocharger. This one here is a G30 660 variation. There will be G35 variations as well. So we have redone the hot side piping over the plasma man just because to suit our new outlet position. We will be providing a pipe that goes with that. And we may also have the option for the 3.5-inch intake, which we've done on this car. So on our own car, we have, as mentioned before, we've done the ceramic coated heat shields. We are not going to put the heat shield back over the turbo, just so people make it a bit easier to see the products that we've made, but we may fit that later on. Our wastegate actuator has a Turbo Smart one on there. It's a 15-pound. That one will be produced for us by Turbo Smart later on for the production units. And we are designing the correct bracket to hold the actuator so it functions correctly. We've just fabricated one by hand for this one. So going to show you some of the stuff that we've done here. All right guys, we haven't run a blow-off valve on this setup just due to time constraints. It's not going to affect our results. As you can see, 3.5-inch up to the K&N air filter, 2.25-inch, which comes off the turbo. It uses a 2.25 to 2.5-inch silicon down there. We have hooked up the power steering boost reference as well. All the oil and water lines connected again. Actuator bracket, as mentioned, all set up. Hooked up to the 3-port MAC valve. I haven't plumbed the breather into the air intake pipe. I will do that after, along with hooking up the blow-off valve again. So, yep, time to get on the dyno and see how it goes. All right, guys. So Alex has done his magic with the keyboard, tuning the Link ECU. Absolutely wrapped. So that's the first RB25 bolt-on turbocharger from the Artec Garrett collaboration. So it is a G30 660 with our sport turbine housing. So we are still on pump fuel, and we have maxed out today at 311 kilowatt. So I've got all the graphs up on the screen here, and I'm going to run you through our little tuning history. Okay, so the white line here is the original car as it was, which again, if you guys look back, it was a catback exhaust. I actually had a full exhaust, 3-inch turbo back exhaust that had a Blitz front mount intercooler, pod filter, and it was making 7 pounds of boost. So our objective with this build, and will continue to be our objective, is to create a power curve that we're not losing power to gain power. Now, a lot of you guys will know when you put a big turbo on a car, you gain peak power, but you lose a lot down low, and you also lose the response, and the turbo time or the lag is increased. So, so far, big shout out to all the companies involved here. First, I'd like to thank Alex from Birrong Automotive Services. He's done an amazing job tuning the car all the way through. The guys at Kelford Camshafts, Plasma Man, Turbo Smart, and yeah, really happy with how it's all going. Big shout out to PRP with their tricky system. As you guys have seen, we've got the diff cover on it, and we will continue to use further PRP products that will be featured, but I wanted to do a sort of midway wrap up of where we're at. So I'm absolutely stoked with where we're heading with the power, and we will be getting onto ethanol soon. So guys, we will be seeing what this turbo is capable of, and at the moment we're only on 20 PSI on pump fuel. All right, so let's have a look at the data. All right, I've just removed some of those other lines there. So white being completely stock, blue was a couple of days ago really, guys, on 15 PSI with the other sort of high flow turbo with the Plasma Man products. And then we've switched to the new G30 660 bolt-on. So that's on the same boost level. We'll go back over here, get the keyboard. So here's all the boost levels, this chart here. So the purple, which you just saw, 14 PSI, and the blue, which was before, 14 PSI. They're both sort of following each other, half a pound or so. And then the green is the high boost setting, and that's 19.6 pounds of boost, right at the peak power, 19.6 pounds. Now, as for the reduction or the increase in lag, reduction of response. So here we've got RPM, we're at 3,670 RPM. The old turbo, which was the little one, was 12.8 PSI, and we're now at 13 PSI. So where do we match? About here. So 3,500 we're matching, and the other one is sort of, here we go, the blue one's on 11 pounds, whereas the new G30's on 9 pounds. So it's only a couple of pounds difference. Again, 10 pounds, 10.2 versus 7.8. So the responses, I'm very, very pleased with that for, you know, a turbo that's going to be able to make 500 wheel horsepower or around 380 kilowatts. That's what we're aiming for. Let's go to 10 pounds as a reference. So the new turbo makes 10 pounds at 3,200 RPM. So guys that are wondering, you know, if it's laggy, I think 10 PSI at 3,200 RPM's a nice number. There you have it. Very happy. So we made a peak power of 311 kilowatts on 19.6 PSI. So what we're going to do now is we may look at revising the catback exhaust and putting an Artec prototype 3.5 inch on there. It's currently got a Kakamoto 3.5 inch, but we're unsure if it's a true 3.5 inch because the Japanese, what they do is normally step down the mufflers internally. So we're probably going to do that and then get it back on the dyno one more time on pump fuel. And then that same session, we will be switching it over to E85. And the plan is to set it up on 20 pounds as it is now, and then increase the boost to 25 PSI and see where it takes us. All right, guys, I'll see you next episode.